Okay, so this is part 2 of quiz 4, and we are picking up with question number 7. Is the relationship shown by the data linear? If so, model the data with an equation. Okay, so anytime that you have a table, you can go from the table to the graph by using stat and edit. But in this case, if you look at your equations, they don't really look like y equals some x plus b. They're not really in that format. And if we wanted to get them into that format, we would have to distribute what's outside the parentheses. And then we would have to move the numbers next to the y's to the other side. And then we would have to get them to look like the equation that we would get out of stat and edit. That's a lot of work. Instead of using stat and edit, I suggest that you start with the equations themselves, solve them for y because it's really easy, and then put them in y equals. So to save time, I'm only going to do answer choice D. I'm going to solve this answer for y. And the way that I get this y by itself is by moving that 2 to the other side. And I can move it over by subtracting 2 from both sides, doing the opposite. So I end up with y equals negative 5/4 times x plus 9 minus 2. And so now that I have my equation, I'm just going to put it in y equals. So I'm going to have negative 5 divided by 4. Notice I'm putting my parentheses around my fraction. Parentheses x plus 9, close parentheses, minus 2. And I'm going to do second table. And I'm going to scroll up and down to see if this matches my table. So I have negative 9, negative 2. And I see that I do have that point on my table. Then I have negative 5, negative 7, that's true. Negative 1 and negative 12, that's also true. And 3 and negative 17, which is also true. So I know that my answer is D. Notice that once I solved it for y, I did not even bother to distribute this fraction across the parentheses and then combining my like terms, because it says y equals, then I can automatically put it into y equals in my calculator. Number 8. Ms. Davis pays $180 in advance on her account at the 24-Hour Fitness. Each day she uses the club, $15 is deducted from the account. If 24-Hour Fitness increases their daily rate by $5, in what way will that affect the graph of the function? So we really don't have to do any calculations here. We just have to think about it. If 24-Hour Fitness increases their daily rate by $5, what does rate mean? Well, remember when we talked about rates of change? Rates of change means the same thing as slope. And you're increasing the daily rate, so you're increasing the slope. If you increase the slope, that means that the graph of the line will become steeper, because remember we said slope is how steep something is. And if you increase the slope, then hence you're increasing the steepness. Number 9. If y varies directly with x and y equals negative 15 when x equals negative 5, find x when y equals 12. So we just have to set up a proportion. When y is negative 15, I'm going to put negative 15 on top. And x equals negative 5, so I'm going to put negative 5 for the x on the bottom. Find x. So I'm putting my x's on the bottom because negative 5 is an x value. I don't know what x is, but I do know that I'm looking for that x value when y is 12. So I'll put my 12 on the top. I'm going to cross multiply. That's going to give me negative 60 equals, and x times negative 15 is negative 15x. To get that x by itself, I divide by negative 15, and I will end up with 4 equals x. So x equals 4 is my answer. My answer is C. Number 10. A candy shop charges $5 for an empty candy bag plus an additional $10 for every pound of candy purchased. The total cost C in dollars of P pounds can be found using the function below. If Andrew spent $25 on candy, how many pounds of candy did he buy? Okay, so we are talking about cost C and pounds P. And we're saying if Andrew spent $25, so we have an equation. Where are we going to plug in this $25 for? C or P? Well, C is cost and P is pounds. $25 is a cost. That means that we're going to plug in that 25 for C. So I'm going to have $25 equals 10P plus 5, which makes sense because now I have to solve for P. And what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for how many pounds of candy did he buy. So to get that P by itself, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to end up with 20 equals 10P. And I'm going to divide by 10. So I end up with P equals 2. So my answer is 2 pounds.